What's going on, guys? This is a Loyota review, and I wanted to do a updated version of the Bruiser Season 14 item tier list. So let's get right into it. So the items that I found to be the most broken, one of them they're already going to be nerfing. It's Titanic. This item pretty much, how would I say it? Obviously, the auto attack reset is massive, especially for champs like Xin Zhao, who can pretty much do Q, auto, and then do Titanic. And so you only need 2 autos to proc your third. It's a massive amount of damage, and it's also incredibly good for clearing camps. You're going to see other Bruiser champs in the jungle taking it. You'll see top laners kind of figuring out what is best to do as well with it. But overall, this item is indeed S tier. Another S tier item is Sundered Sky. This item I was not 100% sure of when I first made my tier list. I think I put it B tier, mostly because every 6 seconds 150% crit is like, okay, nothing incredible, but the heal is decent, right? But I figured, okay, you know, if you're gonna go in for an all-in, it's not necessarily the best, right? Because if you're gonna burst, it's just 100% crit. Like Titanic will be better. However, there are certain champs that are rushing it, and if you're in a really scrappy game, I've seen within a 9-second span people healing for like over 400 health because they get 3 procs, 1 on the first target, 1 on the other, and then 1 back on the first target they had, so 3 overall. Titanic has 250 more HP than Sundered. However, if you do 2 procs, you'll heal for most likely, with most Bruiser champs having like 80 base AD, and then you have probably like, I think it's like around like 145 heal per proc. It's pretty damn good. So naturally in solo queue, because it's very scrappy, this item is doing a ton. So I would build Titanic on Xin Zhao first still, because I think that's just the most OP thing on him. But like if you're playing like Vi and you're gonna get into a lot of scraps and you don't need that burst, yeah, this item's good. You're playing Aatrox, this item's incredible. You're playing like other bruisers in top lane, incredible. You're playing some DPS melees, this also could have that. Like, it's great. Next up, Shojin. This item naturally is, I mean, it just gives you so much CDR that at this point, and also this, they buffed it. They went from 3% 3 second procs to 4 stacks, so it's 12% total spell damage. Again, you know, if you're looking at these 3 items, you kind of pick of the litter based on what you need. So for instance, like Vi, she can get an extra second CD for going Shojin versus going these other 2 items. And that could be really beneficial in certain fights if you're getting Kaidolan and things like that. If you're playing things like Aatrox, Renekton, whatever, you know, obviously getting your spells back up quicker from the get-go, incredible. So this item still is in the S tier for me. And now this is where it gets interesting, because I initially had Eclipse up here because I think Eclipse is super good. I mean, I still think Eclipse is super good, but part of me almost wants to put an A tier because these 3 items are so good on their own that it's almost kind of masking Eclipse at this point. If you need damage, Eclipse would be the A tier. This is still 70-80. It's really good stats. It's cheap. It's basically just a way better offensive warrior compared to, like, you know, like when warrior was 55 AD and like 2600 gold. So really good item, but it's not matching up to these. Black Cleaver, it's actually B tier. Of course, if you need like the pen, it's nice, and you might need to go no matter what later on. But what I found is these items are so OP that you're almost always preferencing them over this item. This item still is very gold efficient. I think I'm still gonna keep it in the B tier because it's not, you're never gonna rush this item. I'll say that right now. You'll never rush Black Cleaver ever. Also, I should probably add a, let's just add this real quick while we're at it. A situational. Sheen, it's still D tier. It's a really bad buy. It doesn't give enough stats. It's really expensive, not enjoyable at all to have. Grudge, D tier. Like, you're almost never going to go this as a bruiser. It's just not worth it. You can get, I'd rather go Black Cleaver at that point if I'm going to go this item. Stride Breaker, it's pretty much situational, but it's kind of in the D tier because again, these items are so good, you're never gonna go this item. Sterix, it's pretty reasonable. Like it gives you tenacity, which is nice. But yeah, I mean, it gives you tenacity, and the tenacity's up front, which makes it actually a lot better. So combining this with this is nice, but at the same time, you're gonna get two of these items. You're probably gonna attack into like Death's Dance or something like that, which makes Death's Dance still around like B-A tier to me, because it is such a good armor DPS item that you're probably gonna want to do that. And then we have the, what's this called again? Experimental. This item, it's S tier on select champs as a first item, and then overall as an item, it's like an A tier. I could put it in S tier if I wanted to, but I think I'll just leave it in A tier because it's just a very good item, has good stats. It's a much better thing than Stride Breaker. And yeah, this has been showing up well for like, you know, Nocturne, Master Yi. I don't really like it on Hecarim. But there's a couple of champs that like, if you're activating ulti and you're gonna be dependent on your ulti fully, then yeah, champs like Nocturne are really gonna like it. Do not pick it on Vi or Xin Zhao, because I found that even though like the idea of getting so much stats, 35% attack speed and 10% movement speed, is really nice, you don't really want to be activating your R that way as Xin Zhao just for these stats, and you don't always need it either. So it's kind of just a dead item in those cases. And naturally, you're like Nocturne, like he can go Conquer, but he also goes lethal. Xin Zhao doesn't go lethal, so there's no like attack speed rush from that sense. And then for Vi, it's like once you press R, like you're gonna have a set combo to do anyways, so the attack speed doesn't really matter. You get more value from any of these three items over this item. So yeah, be very mindful on the champs you have, even if they are R dependent. Doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna go it, but you just have to imagine like, what is that champion like to do with chases, right? And again, Master Yi, Nocturne, really good picks for this. Bork. So I put Bork in B tier because I wasn't sure where it's going to land. I still don't 100% know where it's going to land because it's not as prevalent. Even though people were building a ton of HP, which would imply that it should be A tier, it's still in the B tier because it's just quite not there. For any bruiser champs, Terminus, it's like, it's not very useful for most bruiser champs. And this actually, I think I put this in D tier. I think I'm gonna put it in C tier. This also would go in C tier. Wits goes in C tier because it's still like the stats, like no AD sucks, but the attack speed and the MR are decent. Some extra tenacity is also decent. And I found myself building this on occasion when I have a little bit more DPS and MR still, because I don't want to build Maw. So it's a reasonable item, but not quite there yet. It has to be a pretty specific case. And also, if I am gonna have to build an item, I probably would build Fawn over this if I really need MR. So I probably put around C. Hydra, it's a C. It's a good item in theory, but it's just, again, these items are so strong that people are just building Titanic over Rav anyways. So it needs some help, and that's why they're gonna buff it. Triforce, again, it's still in a C tier. Like, it's really not that great. The Sheen build path sucks, and because they added Sundered every 6 seconds and it has such a good heal, and as the problem that we had Sunderer, where everyone was building Sunderer over Triforce, they're still preferring this over this. So this item needs a little bit help, a little bit more DPS to kind of push it through to be like more viable. And then finally we have this. It's in the B tier. The stats are great. Like, it's a really good stat stick one, but lovely. I had my alarm go off. Beautiful. Ignore that though. This is a really good item for stats purely, and then every 5 seconds you do increase damage to a champ or to a turret, which is reasonable, but how would I say it? Because this is every 6 seconds, like, you're still going to preference this over this. And since this doesn't give you armor and MR, and if you're already building 2 of these items, again, like, you're not trying to overstack on HP unless it gives you beneficial defensives like Sterix. So that's where Sterix like comes in play. It's over this. I might move this to C tier actually. and that's kind of the problem it's having right now, is that its identity is fighting off over like these like 2 items. And I'm sure it's going to be good in certain situations, but it's just not as OP as before, which kind of hurts it. I did have a situational one, and like maybe I'll move it to here. Honestly, maybe I'll move this to here even. No, we'll leave it this. Maybe I don't even need the situational, because I would never build this in a situational. This could maybe be in a situational. This could maybe be in a situational, but in the end, this feels pretty tight to me in the end. So really, the main conclusion is, if you're a bruiser champ, if you're a melee champ who likes teching into HP and AD, this is how you follow your logic through. These are your 3 most OP items. This is good on select few champions where it can be literally S tier, A tier. Still a good defensive item once you get some HP items. Great AD item if you're like well ahead. If you need pen in some sense, you go this over this. Steric's good defensive addition because you're already stacking HP. Bork, very dependent on what champion you're playing. A lot of these like melees are still preferencing this over this. Which you're gonna have to really compare this to the tank MR items that you have, and this again is kind of more luxury than anything else. So if you're going this, maybe you go this, but I wouldn't put high preference on it. And again, try not that great, not something you're actively going to be pushing for, and the rest don't matter. Thanks for watching, guys, and make sure you like and subscribe.